Welcome to the Irresistible Events Podcast, where we don't just host events, we engineer and design moments that shift people, shape movements, and sell with ease. Because an event isn't a slideshow, a schedule, a speaker lineup, or a venue. It's an experience, a transformation, a room where clarity hits, walls fall, and decisions finally get made. I'm Andrea, the Irresistible Experience Creator. And around here, we do things differently. We design with intention, we build with excellence, we let the strategy breathe, the emotions land, and the audience feels something they can't shake off. This podcast is for the visionary, the coach, the expert, the leader who knows that one well-designed experience can change their entire business and the lives of their audience. So, if you're ready to stop hosting forgettable events and start creating experiences your audience runs back to every single time, you're in the right place. Let's build something irresistible. Let's get started. Welcome back. If it's your first time here, welcome to the Irresistible Events Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the event promise, what you're actually inviting people into. Now, I don't see anybody talking about this when it comes to virtual events. We have to have an event promise. We gotta promise our audience something that they're going to achieve or obtain during our event. Now, I know that legally we cannot promise any outcomes or we cannot promise any results. So I'm gonna do a little disclaimer here. We're not encouraging you to make a huge promise like a monetary promise or a health healing promise that you cannot guarantee. We cannot guarantee anything, but we have to have an overall promise that the audience is going to take by joining your event. For example, we're going to host a summit about branding. And in the content, we're going to promise them that they're going to learn everything that they need to learn about branding and how they can grow and scale their personal brand. And during the event, we actually deliver that content and we deliver on that promise. Not like an event I went to. Big names, not gonna mention it. They were talking about branding and I was excited because I thought they were gonna bring branding experts and they ended up talking about info products that has nothing to do with branding. I mean, it has something to do with branding, but it's not about branding. So that's like a little sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about today. Now, in the last episode, we talked about choosing the right niche and the right room. And now we're going to decide what is the promise. This determines whether people register, stay engaged, and trust you. Now, this is not about selling. This is not about hype. This is about clarity and integrity. An event promise is the reason someone says yes and the reason they stay and the reason that they recommend your event to someone else. Now, what is not a event promise? Let's go deeper into what is not first. So, an event promise is not a list of sessions or a vague outcome like clarity or alignment. And it's not everything you could teach. An event promise is not something that you're going to guarantee results in. But what is an event promise? An event promise is the specific results attendees will walk away with. Something that can be realistically delivered in this format. And I'm going to emphasize the word realistically because we got to be realistic when it comes to the event promise. Again, right? Legally, we cannot guarantee any monetary results. We cannot guarantee any health results. We cannot guarantee anything that has to do with overnight success, overnight money, overnight weight loss, overnight healing. We cannot do that. So keep that in mind while you are creating your event promise. Your event is like an incubator, not the entire transformation. I want you to think about that too, because when we're creating and when we're designing an event, we cannot give everything away in just one event. Like, it's not going to happen. It's kind of impossible to give all of your content and all of your value during just a few days. So we want to see this as an incubator, not the entire transformation. We want your event to be the catapult to your offer. The easy and obvious step should be joining your program, your mastermind, your membership, whatever it is that you want to sell them. Now, let's talk about promising too much. We cannot overpromise and underdeliver. We can underpromise and overdeliver, yes. And listen, promising the wrong thing is also a bad thing. Like I gave you the example at the beginning, we cannot be promising one thing and then delivering something else, or promising one thing and never delivering anything. Okay? Also, you cannot promise something that doesn't match the niche, the stage, and the event type. We need to be in alignment when it comes to the event promise. When the promise is unclear, people will feel it, even if they can't explain why. There's like this internal feeling, this gut feeling that something is not right. And that's what happens when we're out of alignment with our event promise and what we're delivering. What happens when the promise is off is that there are low registrations, there's a drop off during the event, especially when it comes online. There's resistance to the offer as well, and that is the worst thing that we could create. We're doing this event to make sales, right? Not just for community and loyalty and nurturing and building visibility, but we're also doing this for sales. So if there's resistance to the offer, it's because the event promise is off. A lot of people will feel this was nice, but energy, this was good, but, it could have been better, or, they could have done something differently. And we don't want that energy. We had to think about all these things when we're crafting our event promise. Because when we are promising something and we don't deliver, what's going to happen is that you're building a bad reputation. And reputations can be broken in an instant, but to build one, it takes a long while. And we don't want to be known as that person that promises the world and delivers a tiny little piece of something, right? We want to be known as that coach, that expert, that always delivers what they promise. We want to be women and men of our word. I mean, if you're listening to me, birds of a feather flock together, right? And if you're like me, this is very important to you. Ethics is very important to you. Being a woman of your word is very important to you. So with that logic, we want to do the same for our events. Just like when we are creating a program, we want to deliver the promises that we made during marketing. Same when it comes to an event. Now, how do we define a strong event promise? Your event promise should solve one clear problem for the niche you defined, not 10, just one. So for examples, you are a system expert, and a promise can be that they're lacking structure or confidence, and you're going to promise them that by the end of the event, they're going to have clarity, structure, and they're going to be confident with their system. For example, if you're an event host, you can promise them that you're going to teach them about marketing for events, and then you deliver on marketing for events. Okay, so business coach, a weak event promise sounds like this. You'll learn how to grow your business. That's weak AF. A clear event promise sounds like, by the end of this event, you'll know exactly why your launch is stalled and what to fix so that they are a success. Or something like, you'll walk away clear on which growth strategy actually fits your business style and stage. Now, notice the promise isn't to be super successful. It's clarity, direction, and confidence to move forward. Let's say you're a life coach. Your event promise isn't transformation. A grounded promise looks like helping clients identify what's actually keeping them stuck, or creating awareness around patterns they're ready to change. You see, you're not promising a new life in 3 days because you can't. Let's be honest. Like, changing habits is hard, okay? You're promising a meaningful shift that they can build on. Now, let's move on. Now, you have to define the result they can realistically achieve during the event. This is critical. You got to bring it down to earth because we're not promising mastery in an event. When we do that, we're going to fail the mark and it's not going to be ethical, right? And we've talked about ethics. We need it to be a shift, a decision, an output. We need it to be something that's going to move the needle. So for example, you're going to leave with a clear direction on what systems you need to use to scale your business or to have better and happier employees. The promise should feel doable, not overwhelming. So let me give you more examples of bad versus good event promises so that we can land in something that's going to be applicable to you. A bad event promise tries to skip steps, or it's too broad, or it's something that we know we can't deliver. An event promise that's bad is when we're promising them that we're going to help you fix everything. Just come to the event and we'll help you fix everything bad. Or we're going to help you change your life completely. Right? And if we're lying and they know you're lying, and then there's a vibe of like, ew, right? I don't want to be near these people. I know I don't like liars. I don't like hanging out with people who lie. I don't like it. So I know a lot of people actually despise it. And we cannot promise things like that, put ourselves in a position and build a reputation of being a liar. That never is good for anybody, right? You cannot promise that you're going to change their lives, their relationships, their sex life, their business, their boss and manager relationship. You cannot promise them that you're going to change their whole outcome of something. But a good event promise is when you help them understand why things aren't working. When you bring up the problem. Maybe they're not problem aware yet. They are feeling that something is not going okay and they feel like there is something going on, and they go to the event and then they're like, wow, now I understand what the problem is and why things aren't working. That's a good event promise. A good event promise is knowing what they can focus on next, what they can do next, or when they leave with clarity and actual step-by-step direction. A strong event promise doesn't try to do the work for your clients, okay? This is not what we're aiming for. It gives them what they need to work on next. So with that in mind, you gotta make sure that the promise prepares them for the next step. This is where you're going to shine. The event promise should stand on its own and naturally lead into your offer, but without a bait and switch. A good event promise creates momentum, not pressure, not ickiness, not all that bad feeling in your gut, right? But it creates calmness, peace, excitement, joy, even feeling giddy that there's something that you can actually fix when you go to the event. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is it. It was the thing that changed my life. And yes, people will say that. Like, events change lives for sure. I've been to events that have changed my business life, my personal life, my mindset, and they didn't promise me that. It was just a natural result that happened when I had that shift in mindset, when there was clarity, when I knew what to do next, right? That's what happens when we're creating an event promise and then we're delivering on that promise. This is so important because it will drive your audience into a result. And listen, we're not promising results that we can't deliver. This is one of the things. You cannot promise results you can't deliver. You cannot teach ahead of your expertise. Like, come on now. You cannot collapse your entire offer into one event. That's not going to happen. This is the beauty of events, actually. We can create a lot of events that can deliver your entire offer, especially when we're doing retreats. We can have 4 retreats a year, and that can be the culmination of your whole offer. But in each retreat, we are promising a different result. Now, I want you to remember something when we're creating an event promise and the ethics around this. If you have to overteach to justify the promise is wrong. That's it. That's how simple it is. When we are being ethic in our event promise, we are going to protect our audience, our host, our brand, our reputation, and most importantly, our 3 letters to not get sued, right? We don't want that, right? We don't want to create that type of reputation. We want to make sure that everybody knows that you are a woman or a man of your word. Your event promise has to be what you can deliver. And what you do is you just walk the talk. You put your money where your mouth is. Now, how does the event promise shape everything in your online summits, workshops, online enrollment events, in your online masterclasses, in your in-person events, in your conferences, in your retreats, in any type of event that you do? You always have to have an event promise, because the promise is going to determine your content flow, your session pacing, your speaker selection, the engagement style, how you're going to apply the 5 senses and the 5 event languages, how and when you're going to sell. Your promise is the North Star. Everything else orbits around it. This is your guide. So let me give you common promise mistakes that you need to avoid. You're going to avoid promising transformation without time, or promising outcomes that require months of implementation. Stay away from that, because the month of implementation is going to be your offer. So do not promise this in your event. You see how it makes sense, right? Promising different things to people is also a big mistake. So for example, you're promising one event result to some people and then another event result for other people. That is a big no-no. We got to make sure that we're promising the same thing to all of our audience inside of the event. And we need to avoid promising results instead of readiness. Yes, there's going to be results that's going to happen naturally because of what we promise and what we deliver. But I don't want you to focus on promising results, because again, you could be liable. Don't do that. Stay away from legal troubles, guys, please. We cannot be promising specific results. Always say results may vary per person. Because, listen, it's as simple as this. I don't know if this example is going to make sense, but in my head it does, so I hope that it does make sense to you. When we are growing up in a household with the same parents, every single sibling has a different experience, and every single sibling is going to have different results because they had different parents. Even though they were same parents, they're different parents at different ages. We grow up. I know that I'm not the same person when I was 30 than now that I'm almost 40. And I know that I wasn't the same person when I was 20. Your parents the same. If they had you when they were younger, right? And then you had siblings and you're the oldest like me, your parents are not the same parents. Your parents, they changed. You changed. Your siblings have different experiences. So the same happens in events, right? At the beginning, we might promise something and then we're going to deliver on that promise, and then the results may be different for every single person in the room because of their nature, their nurture, their mindset, where they are in stage in their business, in their relationships, in their health. Yeah. So it's the same thing. We're going to promise clarity. We're going to promise step-by-steps guides. We're going to promise a topic that we're going to deliver on and teach on. We're going to promise and deliver that. And listen, your job is not to change their lives in the event. Even though, like I said, it will happen naturally, but it's to change their direction, to give them that aha moment, that golden nugget that they can take and run with. Now, this is why I walk you through defining your event promise before you touch content or tech, because the promise needs to be clear before everything else so it's easier. Before we talk about content, which is going to be my next episode and topic, we need to have a clear promise that builds trust before you even sell. So that's it for today. I hope that this clarifies why we need an event promise, and for you to think about what your next event promise is going to be, so that your topic and the content and flow of the whole event comes to fruition way easier. So I hope to see you in the next episode. Have a great day. God bless you. And I hope you like the next song, which is my theme song for the podcast. Let me know. I'll see you in the next one. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Walk into the space and the mood is set. Every detail flows like a silhouette. You create moments that feel like sunrise. Soft but powerful magnetic rise. You're not here for noise, you're here for design. Crafting experiences that shift the mind. This is for the visionaries who build with heart and intuition. Leaders shaping futures with an elevated, clear ambition. Set the vibe unforgettable. Make the moment feel intentional. Let the journey feel alive. Let the energy be emotional. From the welcome to the closing, to the yes that feels just right. This is how you lead a room. This is how you spark the light. Irresistible energy. Elegantly powerful. Every touch point whispers clarity.